Hi guys, welcome to Amy's Cooking. Have you ever tried making these delicious almond meringue French macaron cookies before? If you haven't, then you should totally give it a try. It is so worth it. Now, if you have tried making them before, you might have encountered a few common issues like grainy shells, cracked shells, collapsed shells, no feed, or maybe even hollows. They're absolutely amazing, very fun to make, but they can also be tricky. So I thought about making this video and hope that I can share my experiences, provide helpful tips, and guide you through the steps so that you can make these beauties successfully. Now, unlike other baked goods, each and every step in the macaron making process is crucial. I will provide very detailed information throughout the entire video, so make sure not to skip any part. This recipe is one of my favorite. It is less sweet compared to others. White chocolate strawberry cheesecake. All the ingredients will be listed in the description box below, so I hope you guys like it. Let's get started with the dry ingredients. Very simple, just two things: almond flour and powdered sugar. Powdered sugar or confectioner sugar should have a 10x label on it. This is the amount of time the sugar is processed to provide the fine powder. These will incorporate easier into the egg whites. As for the almond flours, they can easily be found in the baking section. You can grind your own, but I prefer the pre-made ones. Saves time. Any brand should work for this. After they've been mixed together, we will place them into a food processor. Blend it on medium speed 3 times, each time only for 20 seconds, 1 minute total. Any longer and we risk making the almond flour more greasy. We don't want to increase the moisture content in it. However, it's important to grind them together for a little bit just to get a finer mixture. The shells will be grainy if you skip this step. Now, for making the meringue, you will need egg whites, granulated sugar, salt, and cream of tartar. First, start by combining the egg whites, the salt, and the cream of tartar. Then start whipping it on low speed for 1 minute. After 1 minute, increase the speed to medium until it becomes foamy and the color has changed from yellow to white. Now, I apologize for spending a lot of time on this step, but if the meringue is not whipped appropriately, your macarons will be hollow, I promise. So please watch this part of the video carefully and note the changes in the consistency and the look of the meringue. In order to prevent those hollow shells, we need to build a super strong and dense meringue. These are some of the things that you can do to help with that I have learned from my past experiences. 1. Separate your egg whites the day before. Do not let any yolks get into the egg whites. This is an absolute no-no. Cover the egg whites with plastic wraps, poke a couple holes on the surface, and keep it in the kitchen at room temperature. This will help to dehydrate the egg whites and remove some moistures from it. The less moisture that's in the meringue, the better it will hold its structure. Salt will help to break down the protein in the egg whites so that it can whip up easier. Macarons are pretty sweet, so that the salt that you add to it will help to balance out the sweetness some too. 3. Cream of tartar helps to stabilize the egg whites to enhance structure. If you are able to get some, please do so. Number 4. Whipping the egg whites at low speed in the beginning helps to create smaller air bubbles. This is key. We want density. The longer you whip on low speed, the more density you will create. The addition of the sugar should start as soon as the egg whites become foamy. The sugar has to be added in slowly. Sprinkle it, don't pour it. Large amount of sugars added at the same time will create a rough environment that can destroy the bubbles that have already been whipped. You will start to notice the meringue change once some of the sugars have been added. It will become thicker, whiter, smoother, and more glossy. This is a good sign. Once all of the sugars have been added, Increase the speed to between medium and high, but you never ever want to whip the egg whites on high speed. Continue to whip until your meringue gets to a soft peak. At this point, you can add in the color. Only use gel food coloring. Again, we don't want moisture, so liquid coloring is not preferred. Once the color have been added, continue to whip until you get to stiff peak. You will know when it's a stiff peak when the meringue makes a sharp, upward pointed peak. The total time will vary. Mine can take anywhere between 8 to 12 minutes. It's just more accurate if you just familiarize yourself with the look and feel of it instead of the time. Now let's build the batter. I used the glass bowl to give a better view of the meringue, but it's not big enough for the macaronage process, so here I'm transferring it to a larger bowl. How we handle this step will dictate how the macarons will turn out. If you whipped a good, dense, and thick meringue in the previous step, then this step becomes easier. Let's begin by adding in the dry ingredients to the meringue. We will only add half for now. Begin folding it in by cutting through the middle, scooping the batter from the bottom, then folding it over and press down lightly. That's one fold. Now rotate the bowl slightly and repeat the process. Continue until all the dry ingredients have been incorporated into the meringue, then add in the last half of the almond powder sugar mixture. Fold it in the same way. Up to this point, your batter should be dry and clumpy. You should not notice any signs of moisture or wet spots from deflated egg whites. If you do, then reassess your whipping techniques next time. Remember, the denser the whipped meringue, the less moisture. The less moisture, the more stable the batter will hold. Now that all the dry ingredients have been incorporated, we will begin the macaronage process, which is essentially taking out some more airs. Using a spatula, press the batter against the side of the bowl and drag it upward, like drawing a flower petal. Repeat this step until the entire surface of the bowl have been covered with batter. Now scrape it all down. Combine the batter and scoop up some. Let it fall back down from the spatula. We are looking for a continuous flow of batter in the first 4 to 5 seconds. If it falls down in a clump, repeat the macaronage step. Here's another tip. If your meringue was whipped dense, then it will look dry and allows you to smooth down the batter longer without it turning runny quickly. In return, will yield a smooth, glossy, shiny batter that holds its shape and won't spread everywhere. Now continue the macaronage step until the batter flows easily down the spatula in the first 4 to 5 seconds. As soon as you reach this stage, stop immediately. Transfer the batter into a piping bag with a round tip. The tip should not be too small or too big. Too small will make it hard to get the batter out, and you will need a lot of pressure, which is not good for the batter. It will get more runny if you manipulate it too much. On the opposite spectrum, if it's too big, then the batter will come out too fast, not allowing much control when you are piping. Now you should hold the bag at a 90-degree angle and pipe straight down. This will yield a more even macaron. I highly recommend using a macaron silicone baking mat. My shells come out much better compared to when I use parchment paper. The template helps with making them more uniform as well. Now, notice when I pipe, the batter comes out very easily, no clumps, not runny, and doesn't spread everywhere. Each macaron is holding their shape very nicely. All these characteristics are signs that you have mixed the batter properly. Once all of the macarons have been piped, Tap the tray a few times to remove any large bubbles. Smaller ones on the surface will pop when you tap the tray, and you can patch them up with a toothpick lightly. You might also notice some air pockets that have not popped. You will need to pop and patch them as well. This is not a no rest recipe. These macarons will need to rest until a dry layer have formed over the batter. You will know it's ready to be baked when you run your fingertips over the batter and it feels hard and dry. Also, the appearance would change from glossy to matte. If you skip this step or bake before this layer have formed, your macarons will crack, guaranteed. Now, the oven can be the macaron's worst enemy. You must have an oven thermometer. I place my rack on the fourth position from the top down. But since every oven is different, just start with the middle position for you. Make sure the oven thermometer reads 295 degrees Fahrenheit before you start baking. Mine fluctuates between 295 and 300 Fahrenheit. Set yours at 295. I bake mine between 15 to 17 minutes. Why a range of time? Because it depends on how dry the batter was when you placed it in the oven. Check them at 15 minutes. They are ready when the shells don't move when you try to move it back and forth. If they wiggle a little, continue baking. Recheck every minute. Overcooked macarons will be hard and crunchy with faded colors and even browning on the edges. Undercooked macarons, however, will be hard to be removed from the mat, and the middle will sink down, yielding a wet, discolored area in the center of the macaron. Let the macarons cool completely before removing them from the mat. Otherwise, the bottom will not come off clean. If you find that it's hard to remove even after cooled, you can place it in the freezer for a few minutes. This should help to remove them easier. You can also use any type of fillings that you like. This one is one of my favorite, white chocolate strawberry cheesecake. Here I have some cream cheese. Mix the cream cheese well and then add in the melted white chocolate. I'm using 50 gram of cream cheese and 50 gram of white chocolate, but you can adjust to your taste. Make sure the cream cheese is at room temperature. Now add in the white chocolate a little bit at a time until the sweetness is right for you. I melt the chocolate in the microwave 30 seconds at a time. Stop microwaving it as soon as it is spreadable. Don't overheat. It won't come out right when mixed with the cream cheese. Let it cool before filling. The middle is a small piece of strawberry jam, and I just buy the pre-made ones from the store. They don't all the shells don't always come out close in size, so you want to find two shells that are pretty similar and pair them together before filling. Macarons do need to be matured in the fridge for at least 24 hours after being filled before you serve. This allows the filling to soak into the shells and for flavors to develop. The outside will be slightly crunchy, but the inside is soft and chewy. Don't worry if your shells have a little hollow. The hollow will disappear completely after the shells have been matured. Macarons are good in the fridge for about 7 days. Always use an airtight container to store them. If you plan to save them, then store them in the freezer. They should be good for a couple of months. Okay, guys, this is everything I know about macarons. They are not that hard to make. You just need to know what to do and what not to do. I will be available for questions. I will reply quicker in the first couple of hours after I post the video. But if you have other questions, I will try to reply as quickly as I can after that. My hope is that you can successfully bake these beauties on the first try, but don't give up if it takes you a couple of times. They are worth the effort, I promise. So I hope you liked the video and I hope you liked the tips. Good luck, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification button so you will be notified each time I post a new video. All right, guys, have a good day.